Welcome to another episode of Pistons of Fury. In this episode, we're getting the engine bay all cleaned up, getting all the holes in the firewall welded, and getting the entire thing ready for paint. Okay, so came in here and made a bunch of cuts and just essentially trimmed some stuff out that I don't really need anymore, and then started clearing out some of these holes that I need to patch up. So, couple things. Had to trim off a old motor mount that I kind of plasma cut to make room for the engine. So clean that up a little bit. So I'll probably bond over that and paint that as well. And then back here we have some little patches that I have to make with sheet metal. So I've already gone ahead and basically trimmed out the templates for those on cardboard. So I'm going to transfer those over to sheet metal, get those cut out. For the bigger ones, for these smaller ones, the bolt holes, I'll probably just sit there and try to tack weld them up and see how that goes. I don't think I'll need patches for those. Should be able to just close them up with the welder. And yeah, so essentially the only holes that are staying here are the 4 new ones that I made for my AC and HVAC routing through the firewall, the bulkhead. This guy right here, which is the windshield washer, or the windshield wiper motor, not the washer. And then down there, that's a kind of a metal plate for the steering shaft. And then this is the brake booster. So everything else is getting closed up. If I do need new holes for a grommet for my wiring harness for the LS engine, I will drill that fresh. So we're just closing all this up, going to get it cleaned up. So the plan is to get everything welded up, get it ground down. We'll throw a quick skim coat on it. Doesn't need to be perfect, but clean it up enough so that it looks legit and looks good. And then I'll come in here and start cleaning the rest of this black off. So basically the line for the paint is going to be the frame rail, the top of the frame rail. So the bottom of the frame rail will remain black. Everything under that will be chassis black or Pour 15 black. And then everything up through here to the top of this line, kind of where the inner fender gets bolted to the outer fender. I'm going to use that body line as kind of my go-by for the green. And then when we get back here, we'll probably do green up to this line, which is this pinch sheet metal where the firewall meets the top of the cowl, I guess. And that'll be our body line for the green to black transition. So that's where we are. Going to keep cleaning up this firewall and hopefully get this thing knocked out pretty soon. And another update. Alright, so where we are. Got most of the big patches done. Finished welding up this main HVAC fan patch that was just kind of tacked in place from before. And have these other patches all in place. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down there to the bottom right of the steering column. So what I have left to do is a lot of these little holes. So I started with some of the smaller ones, just doing some tack welding. It's kind of a slow process. Sheet metal is really thin, so it's doing a lot of burn in or burn through. and it's kind of a pain. So I was doing some research on the internet, and what they say to do is basically back that with a piece of metal that is not weldable with the system that you're welding. So in this case, it would be aluminum or copper. And apparently the weld just pulls up and fills the hole. So I'm probably going to try with some of these smaller ones and then maybe expand to the bigger holes, because all of these circle holes, like right here, down there where the throttle cable used to be, really don't want to have to cut perfect circular metal pieces for that, because that just seems like a real hassle. So I'm going to try to take a shortcut here. Got this piece of stock aluminum bar, which I'm going to back some of these holes with, and we'll see if the internet is right. So let's see how this goes, but we're getting close. Should be able to come through and do a pass with the flappy wheel and the grinder and get all this pretty close to being flush, which is super cool. So goal is to basically get this sanded all down, ideally get the whole thing sanded down and primered this weekend, but we'll see how far we get. Okay, back again with another update. Been doing a lot of welding and a lot of grinding. So you can see here I have a lot of the big ones just kind of ground down, and I've actually been using this piece of aluminum stock that I have. So kind of sacrificed to be the backstop for a lot of these welds for the holes. This actually works pretty amazing. Actually, I wish I'd known this years ago for other bodywork projects that I've done to fill in little holes and things like that. Or if you're repairing very thin sheet metal that's maybe a little bit rusty, something like this would go a long way toward not burning through your sheet metal. So what I've done is I have a lot of these little spot welds that I've backed up with the aluminum. I've got these guys, which kind of are like a outward facing dimple, which I think I'm going to leave a few of those and just punch through. They have rubber grommets that go in those that you can buy. Just to maintain like a little bit of a stock feel. I'm not going for like a full, rods like RODZ style customs with a K look on this thing. I want it to look pretty factory. I just didn't want all these giant gaping holes with nothing coming through them. So well on my way. I've got some more grinding to do on this, and then we're going to move to the orbital sander and start taking off all this black in here to get it down to as close to bare metal as I can, and then I'll come through here and probably clean it up, tape it up, and then ideally hit it with some primer before it has a chance to flash rust on me. So, little progress. This is a tough job. This is when I was actually telling my wife, this is one of those jobs where if you don't kind of keep grinding on some, no pun intended, if you don't keep grinding with this, this definitely has a potential to kind of just sit here for months and kind of suck you down into project hell. So I'm just trying to sprint through this and get this done so I can keep making progress, get the engine back in, and all will be good in the world. So anyway, gonna get back to more grinding and more sanding. Okay, so here we are. Did a fairly decent job of getting most of this stuff off. I actually ordered some more sanding discs because I was about out. So the last session you saw me just do was basically exhausting the last of my little Rolox discs for my die grinder. So got a bunch more, and we are ready to get this super clean. So I'm gonna come through here, debating whether or not to come in and fill all of these random little holes on the two inner fenders, because there's a lot of them. I might do that. I'm going through all this trouble. I may as well. So anyway, just more sanding, probably some more filling, and hopefully we can get it into a good place where goal is to get this painted in this episode, so that's what we're doing here. We'll see how far we get today, but lots more sanding and maybe some welding in there. All right, another day or a couple hours of progress. Wrestled the backing plate for my brake booster and brake pedal out of there. That was fun, because anything under the dash that hasn't been touched in 60 years is always fun. But yeah, coming along, been doing some hand sanding, came through here and welded up a lot of these holes, and pretty happy with how that turned out. So aluminum bar, where's that thing? Right here, continues to pay dividends. Stock aluminum. I'm liking that. So one thing I am going to do is all these riv nuts that I have some on the Firewall. I need to drill 2 more holes for my coolant tanks. But once I do that, I'm actually going to grind those out of there so that I can clean around them and paint the area. And then once the paint's dry, I'll come back in and reinstall them for real. So that's no big deal, because I got a whole bag of those, so they're pretty cheap. What else? So let's see, I came through here, tried to clean up some of my intercooler piping holes. I may come back through and try to clean them up some more, but they're looking good. This is where the battery used to sit stock, you know, when it was stock. So there's a lot of rust here, and I'm trying to fill those holes, but it's kind of going okay, but the metal's really thin from being rusted. Yeah, I can see that this is definitely the part of the project where if I don't hustle through this, it's going to be project hell. Like, I'm just calling it right now. If I don't get this right and get it done quickly and not let perfect be the enemy of the good, I'm going to be here for a long time. This is like, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, this is like the Mines of Moria, right? You got to just pass through quietly, do it, get it done. So that's what we're trying to do here. So a couple things. I have backing plates that go in here and over here, and then I've got my steering column plate, and I have my brake booster plate. All of those need to be cleaned up and painted separately. So when I'm painting this here, I'll probably just put some paper down here on the bottom and paint those outside of their current holes. But yeah, new favorite tool is this finger sander. That thing's great. I love it. It's been a godsend for this project, and I wish I had it years ago, and it's cheap enough that I should have. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but making progress. Tomorrow I need to come in here with sandpaper and just kind of clean up the rest of the black areas that I see and start taping. I've got a little bit more welding to do and filling some holes, but I'm almost done with that, so that should go pretty quickly. And then I'll start taping everything off, and then I also have, oh my god, by the way, my shop is just a disaster. Stuff everywhere. So I actually got this stuff here. So this is OSPHO. It turns rust into phosphate. So there's a specific procedure that you're supposed to do with that. You basically wipe it on and then let it sit for, I think, an hour, something like that, and then you basically wash it off with water, and then you prime immediately. On the container, it actually says you can prime right over it, but the internet says otherwise. So we're going to be wiping that on to convert all the surface rust that I have here, so that I'm not painting on top of rust. And then I think what I'm going to do is just hit it with some primer. We'll come in here and probably do a light coat of filler on the Firewall, just where you'll see it. and sand that down, and then prime again, base coat, clear coat, done. So that's where we're at. We're gonna keep grinding on this. And time for another update. So where we are is the entire engine bay is OSPHO coated, which is just, like I mentioned before, kind of a phosphoric acid, converts all of the rust areas to kind of like a iron phosphate, which is, I guess, just a more stable type of rust, which doesn't continue to erode the metal over time. So next thing I need to do is come in here and actually apply another coat to reactivate the base coat of the OSPHO, and then wipe that off with just some water like you would, washing a car. I might even throw some gentle soap in there, like a dish soap or something like that, just to make sure that I get it off and that the OSPHO is neutralized. Because the internet is full of forum posts about this, but if you're using OSPHO, the safest way to prime over it is really to neutralize it and remove it from the surface that you're painting. So what we're going to do here is basically come through, recoat with OSPHO, wash it off, get everything taped, and try to prime as quickly as possible after that. So we're going to get everything taped. I'm going to tape all this off down here because we're going to be painting that again with another coat of the Port 15 later. And then I've got a big drop cloth that we're going to put over everything, and probably just do like a big like curtain here over the engine bay, and I'll open my garage door and we'll just vent to the atmosphere. So by the end of this we should be in primer, and then I'll have to do probably a light coat of filler just on some of the areas where I need it, mainly the firewall and just a little bit right here where the battery tray used to be, just to make it look okay. I'm not going for like show quality finish here, but we do want it, if we're going through all this trouble, it better at least be a little bit straight. So yep, that's what we're doing now. Another coat of OSPHO and a little bit of wash off.